And now it's time for today's daily forecast with EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Martrich.
Hey, good Monday morning to you. It is September 10th, 2018, and we have a continuation of the rain that we saw yesterday and last night. That's going to continue this morning. Periods of rain this morning that will start to taper off the showers later in the day during the course of the afternoon and early evening, and then we'll have a cold front that's going to move through behind it. That's going to come through either late at night or very early Tuesday morning. So at this point, this is looking at Monday morning. Of course, we have rain across the region. The warm front is extended out like this, and you have a cold front that's situated down like this. We're going to be warm sectored, and our southwestern areas are going to be the warmest today as opposed to northeast PA, which will stay in the upper 60s to near 70. So we're going to have the rain this morning, periods of rain, and we go over to the NAM high-res future simulated radar, starting us off at 8 o'clock, and you can see plenty of rain across the region, and then getting a little bit more showery down south. As we go through time, we go through the course of the morning, and you can see that here. Here's a look at noon. You can see this is starting to work its way up. Here's 3 o'clock, and here's 4, here's 5. You can see what's going on here. Everything's moving off to the northeast with that warm front as that low pressure continues off to the northeast. That's going to shut off the precipitation and give us just cloudy skies later in the day, but it's going to take a while to get there. So it's going to be during the course of the afternoon. Many areas mid to late afternoon that it ends, but up down here in these areas, it'll be early to mid-afternoon that ends from southwest to northeast. And then we'll have a cold front move through overnight after that break. Just cloudy skies and just some pop-up shower. We have an opportunity for some scattered thunderstorms to move through in the wee hours in the morning on Tuesday morning. And then I think that's going to move off the coast fairly quickly. This is actually looking at Tuesday afternoon for our very far eastern areas across New Jersey and Delaware. There is the opportunity for an isolated PM thunderstorm. But looks like Tuesday's going to be an improving day as far as cloud conditions. You're going to have actually breaks in the clouds and have some sun peek out on Tuesday. And that's as that frontal boundary crosses the region. So this will get out of the area, and we expect that just an isolated thunderstorm later in the day. You can see that here in the globals too, just far eastern areas for later in the day on Tuesday. Now Wednesday it's going to start off partly cloudy, and then in the afternoon you have an opportunity for some widely scattered showers or perhaps a thunderstorm in the afternoon or evening. And this is all in association with that same frontal boundary. That's not really going to be moving too much because it's being forced northwest with this. This is Hurricane Florence, and this is expected to be a major hurricane here at this point, making an approach toward the southeastern U.S. Now, we were taught, had the last video here, we were a little skeptical, give you a wide range of landfall points possible along the East Coast, and we weren't even certain if it was going to make a landfall along the East Coast. So pretty confident that it will now. It's very, very confident, as a matter of fact, over 80% confidence that it hits the southeastern United States. But we give you a range anywhere from Jacksonville all the way up to here to Long Island. So we're going to narrow that down. We told you in the last video that we would narrow this down for the next video on Monday morning, and I do think you have a better opportunity. We're going to narrow this down between Myrtle Beach now and probably Virginia Beach. This is somewhere in here is where we think the landfall point is going to be, and this system is going to continue off to the northwest and somewhere in the middle here between Wilmington and maybe Fayetteville. There's some areas in here in North Carolina that have the best chance to get hit, and this particular model wants to bring it right here into the Wilmington and between Wilmington and Fayetteville. So there's a pretty good chance that North Carolina is the end point of this system. But again, we're giving you that buffer, that cone, or whatever you want to call it. That's going to go all the way from Myrtle Beach all the way northward to Virginia Beach. So somewhere in between there. But either way, looks like our area here is going to go unscathed with this. We're going to have the clouds in association with this increasing during the day on Thursday, so becoming mostly cloudy. And because you have to remember, when the storm makes landfall like this is, even though the precipitation looks like this is just a precipitation depiction here. It's not showing what the clouds are. The clouds around with the system are probably situated like this. It's way up above the system. So you're going to get the clouds filtering in from the system here on Thursday to our area. And I think the day of biggest impacts to our region is actually going to be Friday, when it's at its closest point. This system continues into western North Carolina, affects the areas across West North Carolina, West Virginia. But you have to remember, this area here, this is all the Appalachians right here. This is the Appalachian Mountains going all the way up into Maine. So when it runs into the Appalachian Mountains, it's going to rip this thing apart. Okay, so not only you're going inland, if you're going in a flat area like you had the Everglades in Florida, sometimes you can have those brown hurricanes that continue to maintain intensity or even increase in intensity because it's such a flat marshy kind of land. This is not the case here. You're going to go into higher elevations. That's just going to rip up this hurricane to disrupt the circulation, and it should weaken pretty rapidly once if it does in fact take this path this far inland. So we'll be watching for that. But there's also high pressure over top of this here that's going to kind of block this system from coming too far to the north. So there was some speculation. Maybe it makes landfall and does one of these numbers and comes right through our area and gives us a tremendous amount of rain like we talked about in the last video. Well, now the models have been all trending to a big ridge up in this region, settling over top of the region that will keep this far to the south and will not let it go further north. And that's been the trend. So this could be a saving grace for our region where we're just cloudy and breezy. And again, when systems are over here in western North Carolina, even if it does go over these mountains here and it rapidly decreases intensity, the wind associated with it has to go somewhere. Okay, so it doesn't just poof and disappear. All right, this is all shooting out from this system in all different directions. All the wind from this system is shooting out in all different directions. So as this system collapses, it's going to continue to spread out further from the system than it would be if it was still compact. So you're going to have an expansion of the wind field, expansion of the clouds. And I do think the worst day here for our region, if this does remain this far south as projected, then Friday will be our worst day. We're just going to be cloudy, and you're going to have a little bit of some breezy conditions, but we're talking about breezy as in 15 to 25 with gusts over 35. Okay, so this is not a tremendous amount of wind we're dealing with here, and I think the only reason I'm going that high is because you have high pressure sitting up here, of course low pressure down here, and you have a little bit of pressure gradient in between that's going to give us those gusty conditions here on Friday. So hope for the best. They hope this stays off to the south. Not so good. Pray for these guys down here in the Carolinas, of course. This is not going to be a very good time for them. But it does look like model guidance is starting to trend in the direction of this thing to the south, or mostly south, where we have little or no impacts across the region locally. Okay, so here is a look at Friday. This is when this is going to be at its closest, and I think this is where you would have your impacts locally as far as clouds and breezy conditions. Okay, so we go forward from this in time, and we can see here's later Friday, still staying off to the south. Once you get to Saturday, still pretty much the same thing. So we're going to keep mostly cloudy skies on Saturday and Sunday, and the system's going to finally move off to the southeast as the trough picks it up finally on Sunday. And our Sunday or Monday and kicks this thing out of here early next week. All right. Here's what it looks like in the Atlantic. Very strong hurricane getting going here. Latest update that we had at the time of this video was this was 85 miles per hour, but my suspicions are that it will be higher than that in the morning. The trough that we were expecting, we had some benchmarks we were looking at. The trough that may have picked this up, that was up here, is not picking this up. It's too far removed. Okay, so that was the first benchmark, and we knew that this was going to be too far separated, so this would not be picked up by the trough. But this right here, this area of convection right here, this was the former Invest 94L, and there was some speculation that maybe this would either interact with Florence or get absorbed by this trough and get out of here. Well, guess what? It's getting absorbed by the trough and it's going to get out of here. So it'll be giving this hurricane an unabated path to the coast, and it's going to come in just like this. Okay, it's going to turn to the northwest eventually as we go through time. West-northwest and then northwest eventually. Now, again, when we're talking about a cone here, with a cone of uncertainty, we're going to stop this right here. The cone I would put like this is going to go all the way down to about Myrtle Beach as the southernmost point. Northernmost point, it would take it up to about Virginia Beach. So somewhere in between there, and lo and behold, the middle points of that are right around Wilmington, North Carolina, or thereabouts. So somewhere in that region we think is going to be the landfall point. But again, because of high pressure over the top, as we get to another image, you can see, let me go back a little bit and show you what this is. This is with the ridge building over the top on Tuesday morning, Monday night and Tuesday. So that does not allow this to escape. And this ridge right here is going to guide this into the coast because you have a cyclonic flow around high pressure, or anticyclonic, I should say, around high pressure. And that's going to continue this clockwise flow around high pressure. We'll get this into the southeastern U.S. coastline and not any farther north or south. Okay, so that's what we're thinking going forward. You can see this ridge building in. This is now Wednesday morning. By the time you get to Thursday morning, you have this storm sitting here, sitting right off the coast and getting ready to hit right along the North Carolina coastline. Bridge off to the east, which is right here. Here's your ridge. But you got a big ridge up here over the top too. So this is going to come in, guided in by this high pressure. But once it gets to right about here, and this is why it's stalling, it gets right out here, and it can't go any further because of this ridge up here. So this is actually forcing this thing to stay to the south, and I think that's going to be a saving grace for our area as we go into late next week and the weekend. So we'll be watching this closely. This is not set in stone. This is not a set in stone our model runs here, and we definitely have to continue to watch this over the next couple of days, but we're getting a better idea of what this is going to do with time. So just continue to follow along each day with the forecast videos. Again, anywhere from Myrtle Beach all the way up to Virginia Beach is our target zone. Our area should be relatively unscathed, but we can't rule out some remnant rainfall if this decides to come up a little bit further north. And that ridge that we spoke about in the previous image, this ridge, if it's not as strong or not here, obviously we'll have some remnant rains coming up in our region too. So we don't want to completely rule that out, but I do think areas to the south have to watch very closely for some major impacts, especially across the Carolinas. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Marchus. That is your outlook for September 10th, 2018. Have a great Monday.